the woman I interviewed last time, Wendy, when she first got into intuitive eating, she read the book, but then I think she just called Elise and just was like talking to her, and
Yeah.
that was it. Like,
Yeah, that's actually how I got into intuitive eating. Was I went to Elise's supervision groups.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and she was so approachable and gave me the book and signed it. And yeah, she's really an amazing woman.
When you said supervision groups, I was thinking, so I'm in the process of becoming an intuitive eater and or like certified intuitive eater, and the supervision group. I'm doing it. I think this Wednesday is my first one, like tomorrow. But you're talking about something else.
No, you're right.
Oh, got it.
Yes. So, but I was a student in school. Oh. And so we just attended, my friends and I attended just to kind of observe, right? We didn't have a private practice or anything going on. We weren't counselors yet. And so that's how I got introduced to the whole thing. And then I went home and was like, this woman is full of it. There's no way.
Oh, no way. Interesting. Was this in person or online?
In person.
Wow. Oh, okay. Okay. Where was that?
In Beverly Hills.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, I went to school at Cal State LA. So, maybe like a 30-minute drive from Beverly Hills. So we would I forget, it's like on a certain Tuesday every month or something. And we would just drive over and hang out in the corner while these registered dietitians and sometimes therapists would talk about their clients and their cases and stuff. And we would hear about it, and Elise would chime in with her advice. And then
so you weren't sold on intuitive eating, but you were going with friends.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a really, totally different concept because, in nutrition school, it's very much like, when you're learning about nutrition, it's like, there's no wiggle room. It's like, you have to get all your vitamins and minerals and,
calories in equals calories out.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very scientific. And, why would you ever eat a bowl of ice cream? Why? There's no nutritional reason to eat a bowl of ice cream.
Unless you're Michael Phelps.
Huh?
Unless you're Michael Phelps.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Unless you need massive amounts of calories, then yeah. So
never. Yeah.
Never. And so then when, we got introduced to this concept, I was like, wait a minute.
How did you get introduced? Like if it wasn't part of the program, was it like an offhand reference?
Yeah, a friend of mine was like, haven't you heard of intuitive eating?
Haven't you heard of this?
No. So she brought me along.
And it sounded like your first your first impression was like, what?
Yeah, on the car ride home, we were all like, I don't know. I don't think so. Like, this can't be real. Like, you can't eat whatever you want.
Yeah. Got you. So you went back? I got you. Yeah, it comes up a lot.
Yeah, so yeah, we kept going back. And every time it was just fascinating to hear, it working, I guess. It's like the operative word. Not really working, but like these people really, their lives were changing, right? And so so I was like, well, if other people can do it, like I could do that, right? And so I started implementing it in my own life, and yeah, it was definitely a huge change and shift over a long period of time.
Got you. So she was telling stories of people who were into intuitive eating, because it sounded like it was like
yes.
a class. Oh,
right. So like therapists and dietitians would come in and say, like, I have this client, she has an eating disorder and she is afraid of, eating broccoli, but I don't really believe her, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Did I break up?
We're good. It was like split second break, but
okay.
Yeah.
And so they would say, Elise, what do I do? And she's like, well, have you tried to habituate her relationship with food by adding, like those kind of offerings? Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. Okay. So then you're hearing the therapist come back next week. They're like, hey, I tried that out and, my client reported X, Y, and Z benefits and he or she was really happy. And then you hear that and you're like, oh, okay. So what did you start to implement first? Like there's so many things to, you could do body image or I don't know, pots.
Yeah. So my biggest hang up at the time was sugar. And I had gone on like this month-long, I had gone on this month-long hiatus from eating sugar and eliminated it, like all refined sugar basically. And I felt incredible. For that month, I had more energy, all the reports, I had more energy. I was sleeping better. I noticed, like I would want to reach for sugar, but then I would reach for something else and just felt great. And after the month was over, it was easier for me to stay away from sugar because it just had become more of a habit. So that was the story that I told myself.
Okay, got you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Under the surface, what was actually going on was I had a few binges on sugar that I never told anyone about. And then I felt so guilty about them. Like I, participated in eating disorder behaviors. Right. But I didn't want to tell anyone. I just felt so bad and guilty. And I wanted the story to be that I had this time away from sugar and that I felt so amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after the month was over, I had hangups about sugar. Like I thought it was bad and I would feel like guilty for eating anything with sugar in it. And I would always be looking at the amounts of sugar on labels and that kind of thing. And it was a little bit consuming, although I won't admit that, I wouldn't admit that at the time.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that was really incredible was, I was like, well, what about sugar? Like I asked in one of the meetings, I'm like, well, what about sugar? Like
it's
how
bad,
do you
right? It's bad, right?
I know it's
awful
for you. So why, how do you get people to eat it in normal amounts? And it's so funny looking back on that question. It's just so disordered. But at the time I was like really concerned, like how are we going to do intuitive eating with not people out without like binging on sugar? And isn't that horrible for them? And one of the dietitians looks at me and she was like, well, I eat a bowl of ice cream every single night. And I'm like, yeah, see, that's the thing. That's the bad part is like, it builds on itself. Like if you eat some sugar, you just want more and more and more and more of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That was the story I told myself at the time. And now I see it was because I was depriving myself of sugar that I just want more and more and more and more and more of it, right? But so it was just it was such an eye-opener to hear this dietitian saying, well, but I eat a bowl of ice cream every night. And I looked at her and I was like, no, you don't. I was like, no. Liar.
Liar. Maybe one spoonful.
Yeah, exactly. You eat a spoonful of ice cream. Yeah. Wow. And I eat now here I am in my life, and I definitely eat a sweet like every single day without fail.
Yeah, me too. I love my butter coffee and throw in a lot of coconut. And it's like a lot of butter too. Um, totally hear you. You're also in a nutrition program at this time too. So nutrition, right? There's that whole you're like embedded in a culture that's saying, nutrition is good, and you've totally bought into the nutrition program.
Yes.
So you're like hook, line, sinker, nutrition, and totally get that. Like, oh yeah, I've done the diet and I've done the no sugar thing and feel great.
Yes.
Like these things are just like random exceptions. They're not,
yes.
Just was like, I don't know. It's just like, just forget about it or whatever.
Yes.
Pretended it didn't happen. But then you're like, you go to these meetings and you're like, okay, like, let me ask about sugar. Cause I know that I made a mistake, but let me not admit it. I'll just ask about, potential clients or something. I don't know. I don't know if you admitted in the meeting to be like, yo, trying this sugar thing and I suck at it or whatever. But okay, so you speak up at the meeting and someone says, someone gives you some suggestions, like they say, oh, I actually eat a sugar, and maybe you're hearing in these meetings about opening up. How do you actually start to like weave in sugar? How do you start, or did you learn any other important information that gave you like kind of the more confidence to get back on sugar, and did you get back on sugar right away after going to these meetings, or was it like months, weeks later?
Yeah, definitely. It was a slow process for me. I think I bought into it, right? Like, so I drank the quote unquote sugar-free Kool-Aid, and no, I believed. Huh?
You didn't buy into intuitive eating yet. You bought into the sugars.
No, sorry. Yeah, no, I bought into intuitive eating and I believed it. And so I think that is, you have to trust.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so I trusted, and I trusted the process, and I slowly started incorporating more and more flexibility, right? Just less rigidity, more flexibility, kind of along the spectrum.
Yeah.
And then it's interesting, like, because things like I will feel really great about like I feel like I'm like one of the most flexible people when it comes to food, and then slowly something will be revealed to me that's still like a part of like a hang up that I have. What was one of that? Like sometimes like soda, like I noticed like it's a little bit of a hang up still, or what are some other things? There was one the other day and I was like, oh yeah, I like really can't just fully dive into eating that. But like for example, a good example is fast food, right? So I don't have any hangups about fast food really, but I don't really like the way I feel if I eat fast food. So it's easier for me to not eat too much of it. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Is fast food in that sense a hang up because you don't want it?
No, right. So there's the difference, right? So it's, if I always judge if it's a hang up by thinking if you were in a situation, let's say on a road trip, and there was the only option is fast food, would you refuse to eat or would you eat?
Oh,
that's good. The way you kind of decide, like, is this disordered or is this coming from a normal place?
Yeah, because if you don't like something, you just, unless it's like life or death, right? Unless it's life or death, right? But I mean, this on a road trip, you're going to get another road stop and whatever, yeah.
No, wait. So like if you don't eat, I think that's disordered, honestly. Like, so if you're on a road trip and it's lunchtime and everyone's stopping and the only place to stop is the McDonald's.
Yeah.
Get something.
Got you.
It's
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Whereas
I could absolutely find something at McDonald's, right? It's if you cannot get something when it's the
yeah.
time to eat. That's how you know, like,
Uh,
this is more than just me not liking the flavor of the food. This is me feeling like a moralistic thing
Yeah.
against it.
Yeah.
Do you have any hangups, Jared?
On not eating things.
Yeah, food hangups.
See, I probably do, right? I gotta have some. Um, what's coming to mind is like being perhaps my thing is more like the whole like lack of confidence, honestly. Like I feel like Buddha. I don't know. I feel like I feel good around food. I've improved a lot.
Yeah.
I don't beat myself up around food.
Yeah.
No, not anymore. Um, I honor my hunger. I'm pretty chill about food these days. Like if I'm hungry, like just the other day I was at a networking event, I was hungry, and there was all these bagels with cream cheese. There for some reason they were serving them at the networking event, and I was hungry, and no, I don't normally eat bagels with cream cheese because it's like fattening and all that. Well, I don't want to, just so it is. I don't normally eat them for various reasons. And probably because in the back of my head, probably. So I think if I do have a food hang up, it's in the back of my head. I'm like counting calories and stuff. Maybe being one of those careful eaters. But on the other hand, I freaking love those bagels. I had like one like three halves, and I was like, let me layer on this cream cheese. Like I'm hungry right now. Let me just freaking like, and I'm thinking, all right, I mistimed my meal or whatever. Like I'm hungry. This is what's happening. I'm not going to beat myself up for that. So that's important. But I think like body image stuff might resonate with me more. Just like never quite being satisfied with how I look in the mirror. Um, that type of thing. Because shame has been my I don't know. Not I'm learning not that is not my nemesis. It's a teacher.
Yes.
Yeah, that whole thing. And I think probably for me, it's my default is not understanding what I'm feeling. And when you don't understand what you're feeling, it's just like it's hard to relate to people. It's hard to connect. It's hard to, it's hard to like be human, I think. And um, that's one of the reasons why I like intuitive eating, because that is what is core to me is emotion. I'll say emotional intelligence or whatever, like knowing my own emotions and having them validated and having like positive or good realistic interpretations of who I am and believing in my own value and and like that. You could call that personal growth, you could call that self-transformation, self-development, whatever. I love that stuff. And to me, this whole intuitive eating thing, that's what it's about. We are talking about food, but underneath the food is like it's the journey of the hero's journey, I think. So that's why I like it. Probably my hangups are thinking. I overanalyze the shit out of stuff. So that's got to be it. I think way too much. So it's got to be perfectionistic type of thing. Yeah, I think I hang up something that resonated when you said not diving into the food. That'll I'll do that. Like I'll cook something that's healthy, but I'll just like blank out when I eat it. Or multitask and distracted eating. Not really being present. Not really like I'll honor my hunger, but I won't honor the food. Just default tendencies. That's what's coming up for me. Good question. Yeah.
Yeah, body image is really hard. Showing it all.
Showing it all. We had an inside joke. I'll probably, the audience, if you're listening to this, I don't think you'll hear that inside joke. I think I'll cut that off. But anyways, I said, I'm hiding all this stuff. If you're just listening to the podcast, there's a video somewhere online, but there's like all this electronic, there's my podcasting phone that I'm not using. There's my mouse and all this stuff. I'm hiding it behind the Buddha. Now I'm revealing it. So, yeah.
I totally relate with you about the body image stuff. I feel like that's the hardest work. I know it's the hardest work because that is the last thing that clients still have to work on, always. And I know that I still work on it too. And it's something that it comes out of nowhere. Like it just like, I will go for like a full couple weeks and I'll just be like, I look amazing. I mean, I've gotten to that place in my life where I'm just like, man, like I had 2 kids. Like it's like, just like, I'm like amazed with my body, right? I just am in this like really appreciative space with it. And then the body image, I don't know, it like somehow like plummets and I start caring. And I know that logically in my head, I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's not important. Like, it's just, I like using the phrase, it's just my earth suit. Like I need a body to be here. Yeah. So, and this is the one I've been given. And, it doesn't, it's not like if people are relating to me, it's not because of my body, it's because of me. Like I am not my body, those kind of things I say to myself. And yet still sometimes I get very attached to the way my body looks.
Yeah.
Why are you closing your eyes?
I'm listening to you. I'm like absorbing. It's like I'm really, like I can hear you. Like I'm just like tuning in, like, oh yeah, I got you. Like,
okay.
I did that on the other podcast too. I'm not like, I'm tuning. I'm listening.
You're in the zone.
I'm in the zone. Yeah, I got you. I was thinking of, well, that's good. I'll try to, I'm sure other people, if I interview, I'm going to interview. But yeah, no, like I heard a good analogy and this seemed well to work with me. The whole body shame, my thing is shame. So, it was like tar, where you like logically know, like, oh, I'm in tar, like I'm feeling shame. Doesn't have any logical basis, but like, it's like being dipped in tar and it's like you try to get it off and it's like on your hand and it's just like, it's hard to get out of that. Like, it's just hard. Like, it's like covered in tar. It's just, and I don't know if I'll ever, I think like wrestling with tar and trying to air dry it and wash it off. I think that process is, the journey at the very core level. And, I don't know if I'll ever overcome it, like it's meant always be something, a teacher that, has lessons for me. And,
do you feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's like separating more and more. Like it's longer and longer periods of separation from the tar.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. That for me is the goal, is like, just to be in the tar when I'm in the tar, but really noticing when I'm not in the tar.
That's good. Yeah. Noticing when I'm not in self-doubt or shame. Yeah. Because I know for me, like just believing like I'm doing this $20 a month like group membership thing, and I really like believe in it, and it's like that belief feels different than probably my normal state of self-doubt.
Yes.
It's like when you're used to tar and self-doubt, it's like you don't even see it. sometimes
Right.
you see it, but like oftentimes maybe you've like done some work on yourself and it's like more subtle. And, and so I guess like this longer, when I'm out of the tar, noticing what that feels like is like, oh,
Right.
that feels like this is what confidence feels like, I guess. It's like new. And, yeah, it's not tar, it's light, I guess, or something.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, I like that. It's the longer periods of getting out of the tar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Longer and longer. Well, and you've done all the like, the
Done a lot of
Buddhist.
work on myself. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like the consciousness work, right? It's like longer and longer periods of consciousness or
Mindfulness. Yeah.
mindfulness. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. When
But
someone,
not judging when you're in the like, and that's the hardest part, I feel like, is not shooting the second arrow, right? Is not
yeah,
judging when you are in the tarry place.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's tough too.
I find that the hardest part,
Uh,
actually. Or
yeah.
like accepting,
Uh-huh.
like you're
Uh-huh.
like, no, I don't want to
Yeah,
be in the
yeah, yeah.
tar.
I just
No.
was talking to a woman the other day, and she liked like a lot of intuitive eating. She saw that diets were, not working. They were harmful. Like, didn't respect her body and all that stuff. But as soon as it got to principle 8, um,
Which is
which is the body, respect your body,
okay.
um, acceptance was a huge theme of that principle. And it immediately, she was had a reaction to it. It was, like, well, well, like, are you telling me it's good to be fat? I mean, that was her, she didn't say fat, but it was like, she kind of like references herself as obese in third hand or third person or whatever.
Okay.
So she might say something like, so are you telling me like obese? So is this saying like obese people should accept that they're obese? Like it sounded too complacent to her. It sounded like just, oh, whatever, like I don't need to do any work or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Delineating the difference between acceptance and uh, the 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 way we use acceptance in like everyday language is very difficult, I find, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not accepting and saying like I I like what or I will always be here, right? It's not saying I will always be here. It's saying I am here now.
Yeah.
This is where I am right now.
uh,
Instead of like I will always be like this and so I will never change. That I feel like is what that woman was saying, right? Like what she thinks of as acceptance is I will never change.
yeah. Yeah. I can't accept myself because if I
You there?
accept myself, I will never change. And who I am, what I am right
Exactly.
now is a fill in the blank, something really negative. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like, not only are there's a few things, right? It's not just that she is fat, and I don't use the word with judgment.
Mhm.
I use it with just a descriptor of a body size. But I find that a lot of people can't
Yeah.
separate the two, which is understandable because, society has laid on a lot of judgment with the word fat. But so, she can't, I think that that's another thing that's going on for her is like what you just said is this negative. Like she automatically thinks her body is negative.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can't, it's hard to accept something you feel is negative. I mean,
Right.
yeah, like at the, and yeah, that's where we got to create that separation between,
Yeah. Yeah. It's not negative to be fat, just is.
it just is. It just
Yeah.
is.
Just is. It's a body size. It just is. It's not
Yeah.
any worse or better than a thin body.
Hmm.
It's just a
Hmm.
body that is bigger.
Yeah. And things change. People
Yeah.
grow. People grow.
Things change. God, wouldn't it be nice if instead of people having to change their body size, we just changed our perception of what is awesome? Like, what if we thought like big bodies were awesome?
Yeah. I know, like so much of our way we see things is just by like how the rest of society sees things, and like at least in kind of how I see it as like, I'm influenced by Buddhism, but in Buddhism there's this concept of Maya, which is like the world of illusion, ignorance, and it's kind of like, we live in this culture that says, thin is good and bad is bad, and it's like we take that for granted. It's like
Totally.
this illusion, this world view that we don't see that world view, like, and maybe an enlightenment people have is realizing, oh, that's kind of like imposed upon me, and maybe
Yes.
it's imposed upon me by dieting companies with a financial incentive to do this stuff. Anyways, yeah.
Well, our entire economy is based on not being happy with what you've got, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're not a good consumer when you're happy with what you've got.
Yeah. You're not. You're not. You're really not.
No, you're not. You're a crappy consumer.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm satisfied with my shitty house and my
Yeah.
right? No, you have to have the big house and the big fancy car and you've got to look good and
Yeah. And so it's hard acceptance is hard for so many reasons. I mean, so many cultural reasons and everything. There's something that I don't quite know myself. I know like gut feeling, shame, and non-acceptance doesn't lead to growth. It leads to like the same cycle, like more of the same. Um, and I heard the other night I went to a meditation group at Insight Meditation Center up in Redwood City, and they were talking about procrastination, where there was a study on forgiveness for procrastination, and people who, when they procrastinated, they would internalize, they would say to themselves like, oh, go harder, stop being lazy, like just do it, just do the work. And that when they said that, those shameful things to themselves, they like tracked their like blood pressure or heart rate or whatever. Their heart rate would go up, causing anxiety, which would lead to more procrastination. um how does that work with like the whole weight thing? Like if we don't accept ourselves and we lacerate ourselves, somehow it doesn't, you would think, right? You'd think that was like a good way to lose weight or whatever, or whatever, be healthy or whatever goal you want. You'd think that would like that's what people think. Like, oh, I got to beat myself up. I got to try hard. But it just doesn't do it. Like, why is that at that core level? Like, any thoughts?
yeah. I mean, it's very obvious when you think about it that if you're feeling badly, like you need to take care of those bad feelings before being able to do anything, right? Like, I mean,
yeah, totally.
right?
Yeah,
like, and if you don't take care of those bad feelings, they're going to surface, and generally, like, you're going to like reach for some kind of coping, probably maladaptive, maybe even food, right?
Maybe.
To cope. So I mean, shame is never a good motivator. I mean, short term, maybe, but long term, definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. I feel like when people feel really good about themselves, they feel more empowered, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a wonderful way to empower somebody is to have, help lift them up.
Yeah. People, humans,
Yeah.
we don't want to feel that, or like, it's hard to feel that, the pain, right?
Yeah.
Painful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very painful.
Yeah. Well, it's most of life is avoiding pain.
Yeah, right. Yeah, avoiding this pain. Yeah.
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 So like with the weight stuff, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like people, there is so much shame around size and weight, and I think it largely goes unrecognized.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, totally. Totally. And when people start to um, eat more a wider variety of foods, uh, maybe kind of going back to like when you started incorporating sugar more, or really anyone, what is, it seems like a common fear is that they won't stop eating, um, that whole thing. They won't stop eating. What would you say to someone who is starting to open up their diet, starting to open up their diet in the sense of the regular foods they eat? Um, what kind of like perspective can you give them?
Yeah. So I feel like, incorporating foods that feel like either scary or, full of calories or, against what feels healthy, like forbidding foods is a sure way to make them a lot more sexy.
Yeah,
Right. So like if you can't have something, you want that something. Um, and it will show up in your life somehow, right? Like, so even if you're not eating, you are successfully avoiding that food, other foods will, you'll feel out of control with, right? It's just, the more flexibility, the more permission it allows you to eat in a way that feels really normal and less chaotic.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And some
yeah,
people, it's actually varies a lot from person to person, because I find that some people don't can do really well with very strict restrictive guidelines, and they're fine, right? Like
yeah,
they can eat inside that box all day and they're okay. But other people, and it's really good to know yourself, right? And search your soul for like how you are, including me. I'm this way where like if somebody says like, or if I like make a restriction against something, that's what I want.
yeah.
Right? Like if I told myself I couldn't have chocolate, the first thing I would want is chocolate.
I know. Yeah, like trusting desire. This is kind of comes up in Buddhism too, like the whole meditation thing. I remember my friend when I was telling him I was into mindfulness. He's like, well, "Yeah, mindfulness sounds good, but like, I want to live life. Like, I don't just want to be at a neutral gray blank state." And I was like, "Really? No, no, no. It's not about that. Like, it's
Right.
going with the ups and downs." And food, I feel like sometimes people they fear that desire for food. They fear that,
Yes.
because it's like there's that fear. They don't trust the desire.
Yes.
They immediately create scenarios where,
Right.
if I eat this, I'm going to eat too much. I'm going to not stop eating. I'm going to feel bad.
Right.
Which,
Because they've
based
had
on
those
their past experience.
exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. The requirement to tune in is so important, right? Because what often happens is that people that have been overeating those foods, they've been using those foods incorrectly. Like they've been using them to tune out,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, like 90% of the time you meet somebody and they're like, no, 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 like I'm actually not even tasting the food. I'm just eating it because it's been forbidden,
Yeah.
or because I think I shouldn't, or because X, Y, or Z, right?
Uh-huh.
I think it's making me feel better. I'm using it for distraction.
Yeah.
And once they start noticing that, that's the first step. And then the second step is tuning in. And
Yeah.
once you start tuning in, people are like, all kinds of things happen, right? And they realize, oh my gosh, I don't even really like it, or I like it, but I only want a few bites, or, I'm getting the enjoyment a lot sooner than I thought, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think this is helpful for me because let's say for those forbidden foods, they're eating them anyways. You're eating them
Yeah.
anyways. You're eating them anyways. So it's like, you don't need to like go out of your way to try some stuff. You can, I know I've seen that happen,
Yes.
but, you can go out of your way and be like, okay, I want this, but those foods you're afraid of, but are secretly eating anyways, to tune in when you're eating them. That's beautiful. Yeah. Cause
Yeah.
that's something where I've been stuck with in helping people is that fear of trying the foods you want.
Yes.
But now realizing you're having them anyways. So let's
Right. Well, and then the other thing, I would say the other hard part is people buying into the idea that, because a lot of times people don't want to try these foods because they're going to make them gain weight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that you have to, I mean, there's a lot of like work there, right? Like it's you might gain weight.
Yeah.
Is that going to prevent you from doing this process?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Is that hard for you? Like I feel like in the past times we've talked that is like the hardest part for your clients.
It's that fear, and that fear is related to gaining weight. Yeah.
Yep.
I think the fear is more around not stopping eating.
Yeah.
But there's certainly that, and not eating healthy. Like there's this kind of invisible standard of eating healthy, which I mean, not everyone, but some of them are, they're afraid of eating healthy, but then, or they're afraid of eating unhealthy, quote unquote, these are all in quotes,
Yeah.
but then they're not eating, they're eating unhealthy anyways. But like when they actually think about eating unhealthy, it's like, oh God, I can never do that. But then, they're doing it anyways. Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. The weight thing is, things change, right? Things change.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, my batteries are dying.
Huh?
This is good. This is good.
Are we gonna wrap up?
I'm feeling like it's time to wrap up.
Okay.
Cool. If people want to get in touch with you, or send you an email, or I can cut this part out too. Where you're at Salaman Nutrition, right?
Salaman Nutrition. Yep. I do see clients remotely. So
there you go.
Yep. I can do, I actually have a few clients that I've never met in person.
There you go.
We've done Skype sessions and
Salaman, SALAMAN nutrition.com.
Yes. And I would say, to anyone that is interested in intuitive eating, it's this process that it doesn't just end with eating, right? Like it's kind of what we were saying in the middle of our little talk. It's not just about the food. It starts there.
Yeah.
But then it begins to open your life in other areas that just create this amazing acceptance of everything, right? Just, of like where you're at in the present moment. And it's invaluable.
Yeah.
It creates a happiness and a joy and a satisfaction with life that it's so much better than losing a few pounds, honestly, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the satisfaction you get with life when you become an intuitive eater, or like and incorporate more of an intuitive aspect to your life. Like the weight is just so inconsequential compared to it.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. So take the leap.
Take the leap.
Trust.
Trust. Trust.
Eat a bowl of ice cream every night.
You are enlightened. You have it within you. Buddha. He's doing
But
this.
Buddha should move over for the intuitive eating book.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'll put it this way so the mess isn't covered up. Wow. Anyways. All right, Erika.
This is lovely.
Yes. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to pause.